Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to the Question Reality Radio Show. I'm Priscilla Leona, producer and host of this show, and welcome to California. We're running a little late today for everyone that knows I come on at 5. We had a little technical difficulty. Our guest today is patiently waiting. She's in Scotland, my very, very first guest from Scotland. I've had lots of people from England. Well, I can't say England because Scotland's in England. Oh, Lord, I don't want to get into a territory dispute over what's what. I've had guests from London, and she is in Scotland. I'm not sure what part, possibly Glasgow. We'll find out. But more about our show. 14 years we've been on, as you know, and we have been providing our audience with entertainment industry career advice. So this show is for you if you are questioning a career in show business, or if you're already working in the entertainment industry and you just need some tips, advice, or resource information on how to elevate your career status. Now, guests on this show include, we have Emmy Award winners, we have Grammy Award winners, we have Tony Award winners, we have reality TV stars, just a wide variety of people who are working in show business as professionals. So we have film and television, music, radio producers, we have directors, we have casting directors, we have literary agents, we have casting agents, PR agents, talent managers, screenwriters, publicists, actors, of course, comedians, we have singers, novelists, script supervisors, stunt people, entertainment. Boy, if you're at the point in your career that you can hire an entertainment attorney with a retainer, you have arrived, right? So I always try to have one on every once in a while so that they can really help people with questions. So I announce it a little beforehand, and that way you can get some free entertainment lawyer advice. Now, if you missed any of our shows, here are the 3 ways that you can listen to any of them from 2008 until today. The free mobile app, number 1, free mobile apps. You can, of course, get them at the App Store, Google Play Store. Number 2, we're on iHeartRadio. We're on iTunes. Excuse me, I'm getting a little clipped here. Audio.com, audible.com, Stitcher.com. Just Google me in Google. Google me in Google, Priscilla Leona, or the show Question Reality, and you can find us all over the place. Lastly, we are on the archive page. If you are listening directly from the website right now, latalkradio.com, look for our show title, which is Question Reality, or look for my name, Priscilla Leona, under the host tab, I believe. I'm not sure. Just go there and type Priscilla Leona, Question Reality. Now, we have a little itsy bitsy, teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini favor to ask you. Everybody needs a little thumb, right? A little like, a little follow. Well, we kindly ask you that you please subscribe to our podcast via Apple Podcasts, and you give us a like and follow on all of our social media pages. We're on the standard Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, recently TikTok, and it's under my name, Priscilla Leona, Priscilla Leona. That falls into my every week tip. my tip every week rather, which is branding. When you are in the entertainment industry, actually, if you're starting a business in general or writing a book or whatever you're doing, branding, as you know, is so important. So try to, number one, choose your name or choose a title that is one word, 2 words, maximum 3 words. That is what the experts tell you to do in the business. So make sure you try to Google. They don't want to be spending 10, 15, 20 minutes. People have a 10-second attention span these days. So if they can't find you immediately, they're moving on to something else. Finally, if you want to be booked on our show to promote and showcase your talents, current or upcoming projects or products. Also, if you want to come on and help our listeners by providing much appreciated entertainment industry career advice, we ask you to go to our official website. Now, here's where the attention span comes in, right? You might have fallen asleep by now. My voice has a very lulling effect, very, very sleepy effect, right? Stop. You have to go to our official website, which is questionrealityradioshow.com. Not the website that you're listening to us on now, which is obviously latalkradio.com. So go to questionrealityradioshow.com. LA Talk Radio is where we air our show. So you have to go to Question Reality Radio Show, and that is where you can submit to be booked on our show. And you just click the contact link. Really, 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 really easy. We just need your name, email, title, and website address. That's it. Woo-hoo. You can also see all of the guests that are on for the year. So that's always good if you're interested in a specific career. So, for example, the guest today, you would see that she has the title. We're just sliding right on into that, aren't we? You would see that she has the title of an audio dramatist, a writer performer. So you probably say, well, what is an audio dramatist? We don't hear that title prior to, I think, in the last year or two. This is when it's really getting hot and picking up. But we'll let Jill tell you about that. So we have the lovely, cute as a button, mind you, this lady. Her name is Jill Korn. She is a Scottish, again, audio dramatist. She's a writer and a performer. And I'll just tell you a little bit about her. Now, as a small child, she was thrilled by the annual pantomime at the Birmingham Rep. I assume that means Repertory Theater. And she would apparently make up conversations between imagined magical characters, and she said as of today that hasn't changed. She still does it. So she's always had a love of storytelling. And what I found absolutely amazing woman on my show, if only for this one thing that she's done. She obtained her master's degree in creative writing at the University of Glasgow in 2019. Now, wait. She was 64 years old. If I had a gong and I could gong, or I had a big mass auditorium cheer sound effect, I would do that. But that is so impressive to me. 64 years old. Oh, it is never too late. And that's one of my big things about Question Reality is that you always question your reality. You're 64 years old. Are you too old to go into a third chapter of your life and have a career? Absolutely not. So that's why I had to have her on my show. So to date, Jill has written and produced 6 very different audio dramas, working with actors and sound designers and musicians. And we'll let her tell you about her world. But she's intrigued by historical subjects, as am I, and the stories behind them. As you know, listening to this show, I'm always telling you about what I've watched that's a historical documentary, and I just love them. I just watched one on King Arthur, my obsession. I think that was my fantasy man. Just watched for maybe the 14th one that I've watched. I tell you, they never give any new information. I am seeking some new information about King Arthur. So she also loves magical tales that become folklore, such as my King Arthur. And she likes to find out about the authors who are unknown to us. And Jill is currently working on I hope I pronounce this right. Okay, here I go. An Ayrshire trilogy. And of course, that's 3 plays that's based around history and folklore of Scotland's beautiful West Coast. And this is just too much. Jill lives in a black and white cottage. I mean, I don't think I've met anybody who lives in a cottage. I told my husband when we retire, we have to live in a cottage. I just have to. But she lives in, it's either Ayrshire or Ayrshire. She will correct us. With her patient husband. My husband is patient as well. And she has an indolent cat. We had 3 of them. They all ran away. And most importantly, she has voices in her head. Voices. Who doesn't have voices? I have all kinds of voices. No medication at all. They're just voices. And I listen to them, and they have never led me wrong, right? So without further ado, let's talk to this very fascinating woman. Welcome, Miss Jill Korn.
Well, hello. Thank you very much for that build-up, that introduction.
I love your accent. See, I have to watch Midsummer Murders to get my fix of the British and Scottish accent, because they always have a lot of Scottish actors on there. But I just love your accent. I mean, what person doesn't love a good Scottish accent? And usually my friends say, I cannot understand Scottish people. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's plain as day to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, my accent, I'm cheating because my accent is English, actually.
What? I
Yep.
knew it was too good to be true, because I'm like, wow, she must have really practiced, because she, it's called I don't know if you call it there a draw, but usually when you have an accent that's not Midwestern here, it's called a draw. So people from the South, they say that you have a Southern draw. So you are from England. No wonder I could understand you, Jill.
Yeah, I know it's cheating, isn't it? But I have lived in Scotland for almost 40 years. Probably picked up little bits and pieces, but no, I am English.
You might have, but it sounds. I'd say now I know it's English. Now I know, because I haven't heard you roll any R's at all.
Nope.
You haven't rolled an R.
Nope.
Now, first of all, Kat, I told you how impressed I was that you gained your master's degree in creative writing at the University of Glasgow in 2019. At 64 years old, I have to say that like 50,000 times. Now, that is the most impressive story I've heard in a long time, and you must be so proud of yourselves. So before we actually go on, I know a lot of people want to hear how that came to be. So can we just please get a brief backstory on your prior professional career?
Okay, I was in learning and development. I delivered business training, which probably meant that I was just really a frustrated actress. Probably, because a training session is really like a performance, and you either get good vibes from your audience or bad ones. You have good days and bad days. So it was probably good practice for me. It also meant that I suppose I learned to order my thoughts in a way that was able with other people. They could pick up on and hopefully understand the majority of what I was trying to convey. So all of that was good practice. But in the background, I was always writing away. I've got piles of papers and bits of diaries and poetry and all that stuff going back years, which lots and lots of people have. But I was coming towards retirement, and I thought, I can't do retirement. I won't know how to stop, but I don't want to keep working at this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to have to do something that's creative. And I just thought, I have to test myself. I have to test myself as a writer and see whether or not what I write is up to the mark. And that's why I decided to do a master's degree.
Now, take us back to little Jill Korn. When little Jill Korn was just a little baby button, Jill Korn, did you always want to be in the entertainment industry? Did you want to be an actor? Did you want to be a writer from a very early age? And if so, what was the reasoning of why you didn't pursue it right out of school?
I wanted to be an actress. I desperately wanted to be an actress. And the reason I didn't pursue it was because I was a nicely brought up working class English girl in the north of England, and people just didn't do that. They didn't go to acting school. They went to university and did something very sensible like English and French. And then they became teachers.
Yeah. Now, when you say north, was that where we had talked about, was it Birmingham?
It was
Birmingham?
Yorkshire. It was Yorkshire. I was born in Birmingham. And moved to Yorkshire. Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know anyone who did that kind of thing. So for me, it was a hobby. It was not a career. And I have very few regrets in my
Wild. I mean, your parents say you're not doing it. You're not doing it. I wanted to get involved immediately in the entertainment industry, and my mother's like, absolutely not. You will go to college. You'll get a degree in business administration or something where you can earn a paycheck. She said, if I'm paying for it, you're going to do what I want to do. So, that's a typical story. By the way, are you anywhere near my fantasy and obsession? Harry Styles was born. You probably don't even know who that is. Never mind. You don't even know who that is. He's this hot, gorgeous Brit. He's so famous in England. I can't imagine you haven't heard of him. He used to be with a band called One Direction, and I know he was born in the north of England, and I think it was where Birmingham, yeah. So, but that was a long time ago. That was 94. You were probably in Scotland in 94 when he was born.
Yeah, I was actually, yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's get back to exciting. Okay, so you did the typical go to school, get an education, and then get a job that pays the bills, which is what most people do. You said that okay, so what happened other than, you retired? Had you been planning prior to retiring? Had you said to yourself, when I retire, that's it. I'm going to just have the third chapter of my life be the entertainment industry. That's it. And you planned for it long before you retired? Or was it when you retired and then you said, that's it? And then you had to find out what to do?
No, I planned for it. I planned for it before I retired. Cool. So 2 days a week and doing my degree at the same time. And I carried on working actually once I'd got my degree. But I then started writing seriously, taking myself more seriously and putting together audio dramas, which I love doing. I have to say I love doing this.
Because now, not many people know about. I'm telling you, this has just, at least over here, Jill, it has not really taken. It hasn't taken off. I had one guest named Chrissy Talon Sage who was on my show in January because she had a comedy audio drama podcast called Madison on the Air, and we were like, oh. What do you mean? What is a comedy audio drama podcast? So she kind of like radio dramas used to be back in the 40s and 50s. So on your website, for example, you describe the making of a radio play or audio drama. You said that it all begins in some kind of studio with mic screens and all types of technical stuff. that you said you didn't even begin to understand. And then you said there's a script, and then you said that you hope that it all comes together and works, but wasn't that overwhelming to you? I mean, how did you do it not having any prior experience in the entertainment industry?
What my husband calls brass neck, I think, just a real nerve, just go for it. I think it's just go for it. But I think as well, you see, in Britain, the BBC puts out a radio play every day, and I've listened to them for decades, every afternoon listening to a radio play. So it becomes like reading a novel. You just get used to the way it works. But that doesn't mean that you know how to produce one. And so I did really just have to have a lot of cheek, brass neck, whatever you call it, and go from a script to thinking about actors and who would actually play the parts. And because I'd previously, about a decade ago, helped to run a small theatre group, which we set up in Glasgow, because Glasgow's that kind of place, and we played in basements and cafes and so on. So I already knew people who could act. I already knew enthusiastic amateur actors and some who acted professionally. And so that's the starting point. You bring your actors together. You get a studio set up to offer these things, because clearly you can tell from my Skype experience, I don't even know how to operate technology. Not good at it at all. But, you direct the actors, and the beauty of it is they don't have to learn lines, because they can work with a script in front of them on a tablet or on paper. Wonderful.
I love that. Jill, when I was reading about, they've become very popular now, people. This is an aside. They have become very popular. I'm very fascinated that Jill said that they've been going on for decades in England, because it wasn't so here. I mean, you had the radio dramas that were on the radio in the 40s and 50s. I don't know if they were in the 60s, but then you kind of skip here, and then here comes the internet, and then for maybe a decade no one was doing them, and then all of a sudden now they're really picking up in popularity here. So when Chrissy came on my show, that really honestly was the first time I've heard of them. And I work in the entertainment business. I mean, I'm a film producer and director, and I do films and short films and theater and everything, but I had not heard of anyone doing this. So one of the many questions, Jill, that I have been asked since Chrissy came on my show, people are picking up. They really want to do this now, because one, it takes so much money, Jill, to make a film. Feature film, a short film. And I thought to myself, well, this must be really like pennies in your pocket. So, Jill, what I'm being asked is about producing audio dramas, right? So they're asking me, I remember the first time I was asked, this person said, how do you format an audio drama script? And I was thinking, as I'm being asked, I'm thinking, well, the formatting for an audio script didn't need to be any different to scripts of any other kind. But then I was told it's more important than any other kind because of what you said. The script is by your side the entire way through the audio drama process, and you don't need to learn, the actors don't need to learn lines, right? So why do you feel so anyway, they said it was formatted in the same way but different. I don't know what that means, but had you worked with any kind of theater scripts or film scripts, or at least seen them in your classes, that you knew how to do a breakdown of audio drama scripts?
I'd worked with theater scripts before. Okay. So I knew, and I'd read English at university, so I'd read, a lot of plays and so on. And the main difference, Priscilla, is that with an audio drama, you don't have any scenery and you don't have any stage directions, but what you do have is sound. And so as a writer, you've got to be conscious of the sounds that are not speech, but that are going to make that play come to life. And some writers are also sound producers, and they produce their own sound effects. I don't do that. I indicate perhaps where I think sound effects should happen. So, for example, the cat sits too close to the fire and gets its tail scorched, makes a horrible screaming noise and runs out of the cat door. And that's what I give to the sound designer. Now, what he then does with that can be quite remarkable. I think what he did was actually record a tiger and do something very clever with the sound of a tiger's roar and turn it into a cat's screech. But I can assure you no cats were harmed in the making of that drum.
Full disclosure, yeah.
But, it's actually very subtle. And so as a writer, I can indicate what I think we need to hear to set an atmosphere. But the sound designer takes it much, much further than that. So if you're in an enclosed space, a small room, he's going to have an ambiance of a small room. You'll know about this, I'm sure, from filmmaking, that sound is going to be different from if you're in a big cavernous room, or if you're outside in the garden, or if you're in a prison cell, that the quality of the sound is going to be different before you even begin.
Right.
And then on top of that, you're going to layer the sounds that are the scalded cat, or a person in a wheelchair, or someone on a breathing machine, or a medieval sword fight. If it's King Arthur, you're going to have a good few of those. And the sound designer does the most amazing things. But the script has got to give him an idea of what's going on. So it's not a visual script, it's an auditory script, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I would think it's pretty much the same. You can correct me, but I would think that you have to grab the audience from the start. So you've got to have, radio drama thrives on strong narratives. So, whether you're writing a tragedy or a comedy or a play and you want to change the world, a great storyline will keep your audience listening. And remember, that's what they're doing, people listening. So you have to be able, and how people are today. There's hardly any imagination left, for God's sake. So you really have to characters and plot lines, or the listener gets confused. So my question to you is, I love this whole idea you're doing of radio audio dramas because of the financial factor, and I'm all about helping people save money but doing projects that are creative. So if you could list in order of importance, obviously you're the queen bee because it's your story, so you got to write that story, right? So you got to write the audio drama. Who else do we need to get this thing done in order? You obviously stress this sound designer, so I would think you definitely need that.
Yeah, definitely need the sound designer. I would say that once the play is scripted, like you, I'm sure you need actors and voices enough, so that we're not getting confused between two characters, because you obviously can't see them. So, if I've got 3 female parts in a play, I need those voices to be significantly different in that piece. Bring the actors together. You need a good recording studio. Because of my theatrical experience, I like to bring people together in one place. Now, lots of people will record remotely, and then they'll edit the sound together after they've recorded the actors separately. But I like the actors to bounce off each other and to react to one another in the studio. So you bring the actors together in one place, you organise the scenes in perhaps the same way as you might film. You don't have everybody there at once. You try and make the best use of people's time. You do as many takes as you need. And then those raw recordings are sent to the cinema.
Do you read through with microphones in front of them, or how do you organize?
They're usually standing because their voices will come better standing. So they're usually standing at mics. And I tried, as you said, you have to keep a story simple. So it's not often that you'd have more than perhaps 3 people in a scene. You might then have additional sounds. So the latest play that I have has got some ethereal characters, shall we say. So I asked all the actors to when they'd finished their part, I asked them to do some different ethereal, creepy sounding recordings, which the sound designer could then use and add together. You might ask them to do crowd sounds if you're going to mix those all together later. So you've got to organize yourself so all that you need in the studio. And then that package is handed to the sound designer to chop up and edit and clean up and tidy up and distort and do things with, along with any music. Obviously, if we've got music, we have to get that ready as well and get that sent to the designer as well.
Now, let's talk about your current project. So I think it's pretty much the same. And then once everybody has done their part, it's ready to go. And where do you what platform do you use so that everyone can hear your radio drama?
Okay, I use a platform called Libsyn, which I think is quite a popular one. And what happens then is it gets pulled through to iPlayer and Podcast Addict and various podcast platforms. So if you go to about any cast plan, find it. I also put it on my website.
Can I spell that, please, for people who may not have got that? L-I-P, Libsyn, L-I-P?
Libsyn. They probably won't find it on there. That's the platform that I use to upload it. But
I see.
If they go and look for Sound Escape Theatre in any podcast app, they'll find my plays.
Okay. All right. So you're kind of using a platform like Podbeam is for, so you just put it there and then it beams it out to all the social media sites.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. And they could hear it on your website as well, which is jillkorn.com, JILLKORN.com. Now let's talk about your current project. Now I might be confused as they're the same drama. The new play out you said was based on magic. I thought it was Scotch whiskey and springtime in Scotland, which, by the way, I'm dying on that title. I love it. But then I thought, well, maybe it's high spirit. So what's going on?
It sounds as though my social media needs a bit of tidying up, doesn't it? It's called High Spirits. It's called High Spirits. And if you listen to it, hopefully you'll hear why it's called that.
Well, I love it. No, I got to tell people. I'm telling you, the title. Remember earlier in the beginning of my show, people, when I said, when you are branding, choose one word or two words that reflect what the premise is. Okay, so this is the greatest title because the premise of the play is it's this mental crisis and springtime has failed to arrive. All the bees have left, and there's this character named, I believe it's Brea, listens to these voices, and she tells her Annie B that the traditional angel share, not a lot of people know that phrase, that's according to Jill, that's 4% of whiskey that evaporates from the maturing cast, is not being allowed to escape, and that island's angels are so angry that they are wreaking revenge on the whole island by holding back the springtime. And I was thinking, oh my God, I love that. So is it that the bees, they left because they are not able to breathe in the whiskey fumes? I love it. Right? Now, who wouldn't want to listen to that? Did I get that right? Because I read that directly from your website.
You did. I know. It's a bit of a crazy story, isn't it?
So fun, though.
Yeah. We went on holiday. To the Isle of Islay, which is off the west coast of Scotland. And there are, I think, 9 whiskey distilleries on Islay. And we visited the newest distillery, and we were having coffee in the tea room. And we heard this weird wailing noise. It was really creepy noise. And I said to one of the ladies in the tea room, what is that noise? And she said, oh, we don't really notice it. She said, it's just the wind under the corrugated roof on one of the new buildings. We take no notice of it. And that idea kind of stayed with me. And I thought, well, what what if that was the angels wailing about their share of the whiskey because they're entitled to 4% every year?
What?
Yeah. And if they don't get it, what came from was this creepy noise that was happening in the distillery.
Wow. And the bees leaving that. I think it's because they weren't picking up the whiskey fumes. I'm going to just go with that. That's my internal dialogue happening.
I think you're
But
right.
I love that premise. And is that available right now for people to listen to on your website? Or
It is, yeah.
Okay, because that was a while back, and I think you were still working on it. So it's available now. So if you go to joekorn.com, you will be able to listen to that, which I'm going to go immediately after the show because I have. That's just such a good. Okay, so your current project. Let's talk about your other project, which is celebrating Scottish culture. Now, what does that entail for you? What's going on with that?
This was conceived in lockdown. I produced 2 plays, which I acted in myself because there wasn't anybody else. I couldn't get hold of anybody else, It was only me.
Myself and I.
Yeah, exactly. But I put together this idea. Ayrshire, where I live, is the birthplace of Robert Burns, the Scottish poet that lots of people have heard of, and he wrote Auld Lang Syne and lots of other famous songs. My love is like a red, red rose, and so on. And I live in Ayrshire. I've lived here for 40 years, and it's an area that's kind of overlooked. So visitors to Scotland will go to Glasgow, which is 20 miles away. They go to Edinburgh, which is maybe 50, bit more miles away, and they'll go to the Highlands, but they don't really come to us. And we have beautiful landscapes here. We have the islands off the coast, the west coast. We have magnificent sunsets, but we kind of get bypassed. I hoped celebrate this part of Scotland, this little corner of Scotland, if you like, which is perhaps not as highly regarded as some other areas. And High Spirits is the first in the trilogy of plays. And it takes place on an island. It's a fictitious island, actually, but the island it's based on, you can almost see from my house. And the second play will be about Robert Burns himself, taken from a slightly different angle from perhaps the way that he's usually portrayed. And then the third play is a historic play based on 2 castles, both of which are probably 3 miles from my house, and which are supposed to be linked by a secret tunnel, and a rather bloodthirsty story about the Jacobite Revolution. So,
oh my God, who's coming? That's it.
Come and see me.
I'm good, no, but you've already sold me. I mean, of course, I lived in England way back in the day for 6 months until my passport expired, but I never went anywhere because it was, when you're young and you want to hang out and go to the pubs, and it was my first time in England. So I did the traditional tourist stuff in London, and I did make it to Plymouth, but I did ride a big sheep in Wales, but I never got to, that was the thing there. I don't know. I never got to Scotland, or where my origin is from. My background is Irish and English via the Viking route. And I found out from my DNA, yes, I got Viking, but I think blah, blah, blah. So I thought, I want to go to Scotland. I want to go definitely to the Isle of Man and the Isle of Wight from watching the shows over there. I want to go there. But now you've sold me on this other part, which sounds, who wouldn't want to go there? I can't pronounce it yet. Ayrshire. Ayrshire. I am going to look it up, and I swear when we go on vacation, I am going to contact you, and maybe you can turn me on to the tourist spots when we come. But we're coming, so let me know where the best bread and breakfast.
You'll be
Now,
very welcome. You'll be very welcome.
Are you going to have these? So are these three, the trilogy plays, are they going to be audio dramas too, or are you actually going to have plays at
No,
a
they'll
theater?
all be audio dramas.
Audio drama, okay.
Yeah.
And when will they be finished? Because I imagine you're going to do all three and then release them.
Well, I'm going to release them one at a time.
Okay.
So the second one, which is called The Lady and the Poet, has been recorded, and it's with the sound designer now. So he's working away on it just now.
And
He
what's
sent
the
me.
next
Can I just tell you though? He sent me the
sure.
other day a lovely little, a tiny bit of the recording, and he'd had to put in a slap because somebody slapped somebody else, and he put in this slap. And he said that he'd had to sit and slap his thigh several times, and he was actually red. He got a red thigh, and I said, "Really, I don't want that image in my head. Thank you."
No. What's his name? Are you use him exclusively? We need to get his name. What is his?
His name is John Boyd. He's probably listening to this actually. So
John Boyd, the greatest sound designer ever in Scotland.
Definitely.
My gosh. Well, I'm always looking for people who do behind the scenes type occupations, because we always focus on the star, the main actor. And I said, I want to focus on more behind the scenes people. So if he wants to be on my show to give some tips about his profession, please have him contact me. John Boyd, we want to have you on the show. So hook it up, girl. Hook it up.
I'll tell him if he's still awake. I'll tell him when I leave the show.
Well, make sure. We got 3 minutes, so I want to get in your theater. It's called Soundscape Theater, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're obviously the producer and, the playwright, for lack of a better word. We call them playwrights over here. And then you also are acting. You write little parts for yourself, or you're crazy if you don't.
Well, I have sometimes done that. I haven't done it for the Ayrshire trilogy, but you can hear my voice in the first 2 plays that I did. In fact, you can hear my voice in the first 5 plays that I did. But I'm stepping back from the Ayrshire trilogy because I'm leaving it to the professionals for that one.
Well, I'd create a character myself and then write around it.
I did that.
Right around there. That's it. I'm the star. I don't care what you say. I've only got 20, 30 years left. I'm going to be the star for the whole 20 years left of my life.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So Soundscape Theater, we can go to your website, jillkorn.com, and we can read all about the Soundscape Theater and how people can listen to read dramas. Just up real quick. I cannot leave this. All right. So I found you were the most creative. I have never, ever, in all the years in entertainment, I have never seen anyone do what you've done to get financial support. Now, people who are listening, you better jump on this right away, because Jill Korn's got it locked down, but you too can jump on this. When I went on her website, I found this is the most unusual way that a person has posted to get financial support for a site. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And again, people who listen to this show, please go to this website. I don't know if it's specifically geared to get finances, but here's what she came up. Jill came up with this title about buy her a cup of coffee, right? And you can do is you support her site by buying her a coffee. How brilliant is that? I think the website is ko-fi.com, and then you go /Soundscape Theater. So ko-f as in Frank I.com /Soundscape Theater. It was so creative, Jill. Never seen it done before. How did you come up with that idea?
I didn't. Somebody else invented it, and I just jumped on it.
Well, I know you didn't create the website, but we've never heard of the website and the whole donate a coffee. Is that like their thing where you can donate?
Yeah.
Is it exclusively coffee, or buy a keychain? Or...
No, it's just no. You can just donate. It's just the coffees are kind of excuse to give somebody £3.
Wow, that's
Well,
brilliant.
that's great, isn't it?
I'm going to be promoting the hell out of that. I'm reading out because it's a great idea. So they can go on this website. They can hit donate. They can use very easy. I imagine use your credit cards to donate. You could probably Venmo, PayPal, and then you get the money directly, and that helps you to pay for whatever you need to pay for to keep your audio drama going. Correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
So why can't we all buy Jill a coffee? I'm going to buy her an extra caramel, double latte, foamy, something. I don't even drink those things.
Oh, thank you.
But I imagine the more foam you got on it, the more money you'll get. I don't know how they break it down. I haven't gone to the website, but I thought the idea was brilliant, and I will be going. And I encourage everybody else, hop on the Jill idea. I'm telling you, and we all want to buy her a coffee. So again, Jill, thank you so much. We look forward to listening to all your radio dramas. Please go to JillKorn.com. She's also on Twitter under Jill Korn _writer. She's at Twitter at SE_theater, Instagram at Jill Korn Writer, and Facebook at Jill Korn Writer. I think you are lovely, Jill Korn. I have to say your whole name because that name is darling. Jill Korn, Jill Korn, Jill Korn. Thank you so much for coming on from your little black and white cottage in Ayrshire. And we're coming to see you when we retire. I don't know.
Well, that would be wonderful. I hope you do, Priscilla. I really do.
We're very high energy, lots of fun. So we'll just have a blast once I get over there. So everyone, please donate by buying her a coffee at ko-fi.com, and say goodbye to your fans, Jill.
Well, goodbye, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week on Question Reality. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona, right here on LA Talk Radio.